Ready for chapter 3?
Yep.
Out the main doors of the university, clouds have blanketed the sky and the cold breeze bites through my long sleeves. The desperate need for air rattles my whole body, but I can manage only short gasps. My parents walk in front and I trail behind. How can this be true? I did everything right, blended in, acted ordinary. That was unforeseen. Mother eyes gleam with uncharacteristic pleasure as she glances back at me. Genesis Technologies was not an option we expected. It shouldn't have been an option at all. I wanted an average job where I could blend in. Gen Tech is not for people seeing things, losing time, having a mental breakdown. Evelyn, go to the apartment to review the meeting, Father says. Since your position begins tomorrow, you'll need time to prepare. He stops to order an auto taxi with his hand held. Within seconds, a tiny white vehicle with barely enough room for 3 passengers arrives. Father, something's wrong, I say. We'd take you home, but Mother and I are due at our assignments. This conversation will continue tonight. I nod in agreement. I shouldn't have tried to tell him anyway. Father wouldn't understand. After a few minutes, which dragged by like an hour, the taxi pulls up to the front of our building. I get out, my bag still over my shoulder. Mother nods a goodbye and the vehicle pulls away swiftly. Whatever energy is allowing me to stand drains away in an instant. I become heavy, standing alone on the sidewalk, the only person without somewhere to be. Inexcusably, hot tears attempt to form, but I will them away, burning the back of my sinuses. Around me, the world seems to spiral. What's going on with me? I'm usually so good at keeping everything in. The burning in my hand returns, reminding me of my need to get to the security of the apartment. Safe inside the elevator, I thrust my hand against the cold identification pad and my hand stops tingling. As always, it knows where to take me. The door slides shut and I turn to rest against the rear of the cab. I'm having issues. Can you tell? Speaking is not going well. The time between the open elevator door and the security of my bed blurs together. I wish Ben were really here and assigned level 2 instead of staying with Bess and Devin. Of course, direction would never allow us to be reassigned together, since twins are often too emotionally connected, but maybe he wouldn't have died. I've seen the report at least 100 times, death due to virus 305B. Level 1s are the last to receive VAC tech updates, and several hundred level 1s had died over the course of 24 hours before they finally received the update that would have saved them. Why'd you have to die? I wait for the vision of him to return. It doesn't. As I stare at the smooth texture of the ceiling of my room, my tears dry. This is ridiculous. How am I ever going to work for Gen Tech if I can't control myself? It's a waste of time to mourn for someone 13 years later anyway. Ben is gone. Keep your focus forward. Move on. Slowly, I inhale and search for my bag. The spouse pairing message alert still blinks on the media viewer. I ignore it and find the bag on the couch. Plopping down next to it, inside I dig for my flex. Resting beside the eaten lunch, and launched my citizen account. My heart thumps as the emblem emerges and spins slowly on the screen. I press the thumb against the pad to open my account. Credits 10,100. My heart skips, 2 times greater than expected, and I'll receive that monthly. It's more than I'll need ever after moving. Maybe Gentech isn't that bad after all. Among the message is the vid of the meeting, which includes the greeting I remember and plays through everything I missed when the vision began. I scan the recording for any signs that what I saw was real, but Ben never appears. It was only a meeting like any other. The whole thing was in my head. Instead, the counselor informs us of a new direction advance, which pinpoints desirable characteristics for career configuration beyond training scores. She doesn't delve into the science, but it makes me curious. This information, coupled with my scores, decided my future at Genesis Tech. The actual position doesn't shock me. Information security. At birth, my anticipated strength was for network systems. At age 5, a configuration test sealed my general career path. Always wanted to keep attention off myself. In training, I've hidden my abilities to find security vulnerabilities in the system coding. To me, they stand out like a light, just like that girl in red stood out among the citizens in gray, black, and khaki. That was the word. Oh, that makes sense. I guess it wasn't enough though. The testing software saw through the ruse anyway. Why Gen Tech, though? I wanted a position at a mid-grade company, one that was essential but not elite. Direction will be watching me too closely there. I shake my head and grab my lunch. From my bag, the usual is sandwich, apple slices, and peanuts. I pop a peanut into my mouth and finally check the spouse pairing message. It's merely a distraction. If nothing else, it will stop the incessant flashing of the message alert. Miss Lark, congratulations on direction citizenship. One privilege is access to spouse pairing. 4 top choices are listed in your account, and as more become available, they will be added. As a benefit, you have 2 complimentary trips to any direction sanctuary sanctioned level 2 cafe for a potential spouse pairing meeting. A spouse pairing contract must be agreed upon and officially registered within 1 year of turning 17. Otherwise, you will not be paired. If you have any additional queries, use the search feature on any page in your account or review the direction FAQ. If questions can't be answered through the FAQ or search function, connect with a direction representative at any time. Compatibility perfects us. I grit my teeth and select the link. Here goes. The display lists names with their matching photos, a potential description of why each is an acceptable pairing, blanks each image, but I will need to individually select them to view all of the information. A quick scan of the images reveal them to all be complete strangers. 7 other universities run in level 2, 1 in each sector, and these potentials did not attend my school. The The only one who looks vaguely interesting is someone named Aaron Barton. There's something kind about the expression on his face, where the others are all far too serious, plus his blue eyes and blonde hair remind me of Kyra. I log out, maybe I'll look at him more later, and at least I can tell Kyra I checked if she messages later. The sandwich sits by me, uneaten. I gaze at the perfect frilly lettuce hanging over the sides of the soft white bread, no browning or bruising on the vegetables surface. Food from the printer is impeccable. Optimal nutrition, yet it's not real. None of this is real. Not me, not the spouse pairing, nor the career placement. My stomach turns at the thought, but I lift the sandwich and take a bite. It's what I'm supposed to do. I startle awake. The half-eaten sandwich skates from my lap, and I snatch it before it hits the floor. Father at the door, he places his bag on a hook and walks toward the couch. Napping, he asks, a touch of disgust in his voice. Yeah, I guess I was. I sit up and smooth my hair. He just stands there. Your mother and I were shocked by the assignment. Pleased, but shocked. Father, when are you ever shocked about anything? I'm shocked when my daughter, who barely deserves a level 2 rank, is assigned to one of the most important companies available. That's when. A flush overtakes me. If I didn't hide my skills with systems, he would never think this. I guess I didn't conceal them well enough. I gather my mental strength. I'm moving out tomorrow. He stiffens, probably expecting something else from me, then relaxes his stance. Good. Maybe you'll assimilate better than we expected. More sounds come from the hall, and the door opens again. Mother. Father glances toward her, announcing Evelyn's moving out. Mother turns and hangs her bag on the designated hook. Before she speaks, she straightens her grayish skirt. Good, you have a very respectable career placement and will have moved well before the month grace time. This will be noted as positive on your father's and my records. I stand and go around her. The sandwich is still in my hand, ever perfect and fresh. I work on finishing it while I walk to my room. I don't say another word, and I doubt they care. At my desk, I tap the viewing screen and access my account. The instructions for Gen Tech tomorrow are already available, detailing where to go and what to expect on my first day. Since I'll walk there, I browse through and memorize the route to take and the layout of the building, a classified facility. I don't even want to discover what happens if I become unassigned from them. Of course, I could review the rules and regulations, but the walls seem to close in and squeeze me. I need air. I'm not getting any in here. A fine excuse. While changing into my running gear, the necklace from Ben's falls from my pocket and onto the floor. What to do with this thing? I have no clue. I snatch it from the ground, lift the mattress, and stuff it under again alongside the paper. I slip on running shoes and fold and snap my handheld to my wrist after disabling the message function. A healthy body supports a healthy mind, so says direction. I shouldn't even tell Mother and Father I'm going, not that they care anyway. As I make my way through the living room, the smell of roast beef and mashed potatoes meets my nose. Headed to run, I call, the door closes behind me, muffling whatever mother answers. I burst from the building and make my way through the landly clad citizens returning home after the long workday. The sun has already worked its way behind the building. Normally, I try to run during or after training, since it lets out earlier than when citizens usually leave from work. Not all the streets are as bustling as the one in front of our apartment, so I headed west on 96 toward one offering a less congested route to the middle of the city. That's an interesting way to describe a crowd of people.
What, congested?
Congested.
That's fair.
The fact the park exists still amazes me. Since most green spaces have replaced with steel and concrete, Father scoffs that many people aren't ready to let go of humanity entirely. Whether I believe that to be true is another issue. Most seem ready enough to me, but the park and a few rights, like still allowing us to birth our own children, even if we might not be able to raise them, keeps the illusion hanging on. Oh, that was an aggressive. It was like a hiccup burp. Very aggressive. Yep. True or not, I'm glad it's still here. While I jog the blocks, I pass a gym I use if I want to swim or forget to work out at training. Director Manning's face flickers on the media screen high above. His sandy hair has just begun to turn lighter at the temples. Curfew begins at 8 p.m. For the safety of all citizens, Allure, you are required to return to your housing units by this time. Rebel attacks are on the rise. I check my handheld for the time. 6:14 p.m. Plenty. Manning voice drones on. On the next block, I pass a direction-sanctioned cafe. I've never been in one. The cafes are used for meetings outside work that must be done in person. Inside sit a few couples, probably spouse pairing candidates. Sitting with coffee and food in front of them, a girl yawns, and the guy at the same table stares out the window. If love isn't part of the mix, unlikely for those two, you at least want assurance that you don't loathe the person, right? Breaking a spouse contract is rarely permitted. It upsets the focus and training of any children involved. Choosing a spouse wisely is crucial. Finally, at the park, I breathe in deeply. The earth smells of the grass and trees lift my spirits. Everywhere else in the city just smells like bland concrete. Giant evergreen trees block the view of the level 1 part of the city. On the other side of the park, Bess Winterly, my bio mother, lives in Sector C. I'm scheduled to meet her in a couple days. I pant for air and slowly take in the earthiness of the grass. A familiar stone bench on the far side of the park beyond the trees welcomes me. I take a seat, resting on it, closing my eyes, and clearing my mind. Take what's offered. I'm lucky. More than lucky. Must have less. But in an instant, my BackTech upload site begins to sting again, and my eyes fly open to check my palm. Other than the sensation, it seems normal, but as I stare, a tiny flickering starts at the tips of my fingers and begins to work down my whole hand, turning it a radiating white. I gasp and look up for help. But I'm no longer in the park. Instead, I find myself in a small room with 8 incubators lined up in 2 rows of 4. Are you okay?
Yep. Good.
2 of them have babies inside. The panic that just filled me strangely disappears as I walk toward the containers. The cooing babies inside are bald and pink and swaddled in fuzzy blankets. Confused, I reach toward the first one and realize my hand has returned to normal. From behind the door to the room clicks and whooshes open. My heart leaps as I scramble for a place to hide. There's nowhere to go though, leaving me exposed in the middle of the room. 2 female medics, dressed in white, step in, but ignore me. I stand frozen, but quickly realize that they don't see me. I let out a long breath of relief. The first medic reaches into her pocket and pulls out a curious object, a syringe. I only know it from my history studies. As the woman approaches the child, it begins to fuss. Disgusted, she recoils her hand. They do that every time, says the second woman. You'll get used to it. Most of them don't last long anyway. She takes the syringe from the first woman's hand and plunges it into the infant's arm. I love that you just looked at me after that. The child wails, and as if on cue, I clutch my arm, now screaming in pain. A sharp cramp works through my limb. The other child joins in the chorus of screams, as does the sound of a chime. A heaving gasp of air escapes me, and my eyelids fly open, relieved, until I see utter darkness. The sun should only be about to set. Panic zips through my belly. City curfew. I check for the time on my still chiming Lex, but instead find the words, lose your life and you might find it, but time is running out. What is this? There's no Flex ID. Forgetting the vision, my hand goes clammy as I frantically poke the screen, flicking my messages to on and displaying the clock. I suck in another breath, realizing I won't make it home in time for curfew. Why did I go to the far side of the park? If I'm caught by a guard and held for the night, I won't get to Gen Tech. A missed curfew will go on my record. It's only a first offense, but it could mean reassignment to an undesirable position, and all my new credits could be drained. Or worse, what if a rebel attacks me? Think. The rising moonlight gleams across the skyline of level 1. Bess. I can make it to Bess's apartment. Barely. It's a risky choice, but my options are limited. A shadowy figure races past me in the same direction I need to go, making my breath hitch. But they quickly disappear from view through the trees. Lose your life, and you might find it. The words intertwined with my horrific vision tumble through my mind as I race across the grass into the streets of level 1. And that is chapter 3.
Chapter 3.
Yeah. Level 1 citizens scurry. Chapter 4. That way we know where we're at.
Okay.
Level 1 citizens scurry into shabby apartment buildings. These people are under an identical initiative as us, but expectations are lower, and direction often leaves them to their own devices as long as there's no trouble. A man ushers his spouse and a child into a building. He lays his hand on the small of the woman's back, a tiny gesture I've never seen anyone in level 2 indulge in, not in public. As I round a corner, the family moves from view. I notice something peculiar. A boy close to my age leans against the brick wall of Bess's building. Light from an auto lamp that's just flickered on illuminates the side of his face, accentuating his square jawline. A tiny tuft of wavy hair, just slightly longer than worn by most men. A tiny tuft peeks from the hood of his dark fitted jacket, pulled over his head. Even with the jacket, his broad shoulders reveal his more muscular than the typical male citizen. Despite the hustle of remaining citizens to get into their dwellings, he looks like he's waiting for a taxi in broad daylight, as if curfew didn't apply to him. The boy reaches for the cuff of his sleeve and pushes it up with his palm, revealing an antique watch. Odd. I've seen them in my history studies, but no one wears them anymore because the flex is so much more useful. I pass him, and his dark eyes meet my stare. They lock onto mine, making my breath hitch. I slow to a crawl, and his lips appear to move in slow motion. "You're late," he asks. Just a bit." I stutter, trying not to give away that I'm in the wrong place. A soothing, disembodied voice announcing the 3-minute warning breaks the trance. At the same time, my handheld vibrates. Surely it's my parents trying to reach me. They must be unhinged. Father is probably pacing the floor, and Mother's face will be scrunched up like it always gets when she's worried. Sometimes. Something that hasn't happened in a long time. Sorry. I drive those thoughts aside, ignore the strange boy, and hustle to Bess's. The building emerges, and I give a last push to make it inside before curfew. The doors whoosh open to a modest lobby. Something about the boy bothers me. I glance behind myself to see if he's still there, breaking curfew, but he's gone. Thankfully, I've bought a few minutes, but could still be reported for not being inside a unit. I must move. Nightmarish visions about babies in my head are one thing. Nightmares in real life of being detained are quite another. Lungs burning, I locate the stairwell and rocket up to Bess's floor. The door waits ahead, and I wave a hand over the visitor's alert before bending over to catch my breath. What if she's not home? The thought's absurd. Where else would she be after curfew? But it's what happened after Ben died. My bio father, Devin, just disappeared. I came for my year 5 visit, and he was gone. When I got older, I asked mother and father about it, but they told me it was an inappropriate topic. After a few seconds, I hear footsteps approaching the other side of the door. It bursts open to reveal a wide-eyed Bess, who catches my shoulders and yanks me inside the apartment. "What are you doing here?" she whispers. Her mouth hangs open, waiting for a reply, but I'm still out of breath, and all that comes out are gasps as I suck in the air. My lungs give way, and I slump to the floor as she closes the door. Bess kneels beside me. "Evelyn, you shouldn't be here." When I try to respond, I freeze under Bess's arms, which have wrapped around my shoulders. Part of me irks to hug her, relieved, but the shock of the embrace paired with the exhaustion concretes my arms to my side. Bess, I utter, but she doesn't release me. Bess. I'd bolt if it weren't for the drones waiting outside. Sorry, she whispers. You're not used to that. Bess pulls back and wipes wisps of her hair off her face. You should be home. I know, I reply as unexpected tears form. My voice shakes as I try to explain. It's my configuration day, and I went for a run, but must have been distracted and had no time to go home. Barely making sense, the tears start to flow, and my chin falls to my chest. Bess cups and lifts my face. It's okay, she sighs. We'll figure this out. First, do your parents know where you are? My eyes widen. No, I'm sure they tried to message me. I swipe away the curious words still on the screen from the message I received earlier in the park, hoping Bess didn't see them. Sure enough, I find several frantic messages from my parents, not frantic as in they are truly worried about me, but as in they worry how it will look on them if I'm caught. I message them, I'm fine, safe. My hand hovers over the screen. Do I tell them more? I'm 17 today, and I don't have to tell them anything anymore if I don't want to. But will they turn me in if they know I'm here? I don't think so. They wouldn't risk it looking poorly on them. But if they don't know I'm here, they might report it since I could have been dragged away by rebels or something. I respond with Bess. I send the message and quickly turn off the messaging function for now. After a deep breath in, I look up into Bess's freckled face, much like mine, and flowing chocolate-colored hair skimming the bottom of her shoulders. It's been a year, but she's barely changed. Not much we can do now. She gives a crooked grin. How about dinner? Then fill me in on your day. After the meal, I try to rise to clear my plate and recycle the picked at food, but Bess tells me to sit and relax. How can I relax? My hand hurts from holding the book. It's like numb right in between my thumb and my finger.
Oh, rude.
And I got the freaking hiccups, the hiccup burps from the food. Not only should it be home, but the surrounding room feels tight with with loads of mementos she's gathered over the years. Our unit has nothing of the sort. A delicate figurine of a deer with pink flowers painted on it stares my way. Its gaze makes my feet twitch uncomfortably underneath the table. I try to will them to stop, but when I'm not paying attention, they start up again. Bess leaves me to sit alone, gawked at by the knick-knack, and takes the plate into the kitchen. I break away from its stare and turn to an image viewer fashioned from a late model Flex sitting on the shelf in the living room. The device flips through random still images of nature, leaves and trees, a sunset image she could have taken from the roof of the apartment. As I stare, my breath hitches at the next image showing Bess, Devin, and Ben. Devin is handsome, I guess. Light skin, straight chestnut brown hair, and a shy smile. The opposite of father, with his dark brown skin and perpetual confidence. Ben must be around 4 years old in the picture, with short dark brown hair, light skin, and freckles across his nose like mine. The image must have been taken just before he died. Bess and I typically don't discuss him much. I've always told myself the silence is for her sake. She's emotional and susceptible. In truth, I'm protecting myself. You would have been placed today too, Bess says, coming back into the room. Bess's thin arms wrap around her torso, and she has a wistful look in her eyes. Usually I'd change the subject, but I can't think of anything else today. Bess, tell me about Ben. I whisper, expecting her to cry, but instead she straightens and takes a deep breath. She presses her lips, and for a second I'm sure she'll refuse the conversation we've avoided for years. He turned 4 a few days before that picture was taken, and a month after that, he died. She eyes the viewer, maybe remembering the day in her hand when she continues, her voice is shaking. Devin and I took it after your yearly visit since it wasn't appropriate to take the two of you together. She pauses for a beat and looks away. You aren't mine, but I thought it would help me remember the day better, and that you two had a nice time. My chest tightens with her words. It's the same day Ben gave me the necklace. What was he like? A lot like you, even though he was determined level 1, she sighs. Reserved most of the time, unless with you. With this, my mind sparks with a memory or a vision. Everything goes white again, and the two of us are together, just Ben and me. Such joy, laughter. The scene vanishes, and I'm left with despair. I can't see his face anymore, but a child's cry shrieks in my ears. As fast as it came, the vision and cries dissipate. Did he ever cry when we were together? I choke out. Oh no, she shakes her head. He was so happy to meet you each year, even the first time. The two of you understood each other. That's one reason we never had our meetings outside the home. You were impossible to contain, like the time in the park when you two rolled down the hill. She clears her throat. Neither of you ever cried when the meetings ended, as if you knew you'd come together again. The memory gnaws at me. Are you sure? Bess's eyes lose focus. I'm not sure. Maybe I've forgotten. Anyway, he always followed the rules. Ben was a good boy. The best behaved at primer school, so his teachers said. Devin and I enjoyed raising him. She's choosing her words carefully. I realize, avoiding the word love or other emotional ideas. It could be for my benefit, but maybe she doesn't trust me or think I'll report her. From the watering of her eyes, though, I can tell how she really feels. She forces a smile and steps closer. What else would you like to know? A million questions flare in my mind, all out of reach. I don't know, I lie. That's all, I guess. Desperate to change the subject, I rack my brain for a new topic. What time is it? Bess checks the time on her handheld. 8:58. Oh, a direction address is on tonight regarding the new medvac announcement. Would you like to watch? I shift and rub my palm where I took my medvac this morning, then nod. She turns on the media viewer, and the two of us move to the couch. Director Manning, a level 3 science expert, steps up to the podium. Manning must be 60 years old by now, but his body barely shows it.
Sorry.
But his body barely shows it. Medium in height, he still appears strong, and his hair only shows a small amount of gray. Greetings, citizens of Allure. He booms. Tonight, I'm here to announce an exciting update concerning the latest medvac. I'd swear some of the tingling is back in my palm. Manning reminds us that over 100 years ago, the human race risked extinction from a deadly flu the government called Avis, which crossed from birds to humans. Only a limited amount of both species survived the collapse. Scientists refined a series of vaccines combined with technology, and these have continued to keep us safe from new threats ever since. I've heard the spiel 100 of times. Under Direction Science, a new, more powerful version has been developed to fight specific viruses and help build a super immune system. This newest version will make a permanent bond with your internal nanosystem. It is designated to evolve as needed to protect against any future threats. Vaccination schedules over the next 2 weeks will be determined by each person's level and assignment. Citizens are required to report the assigned medical facilities. Report to the assigned medical facilities or testing stations for inoculation. This information is already available in your citizen account. His droning makes my eyelids droop, but pop back open for a stern. Maintain forward focus. The screen shifts to Brian Marshall and an interview with a pandemic expert. A reply, I guess. Well, that was interesting. Bess flicks off the screen and we sit not speaking for what seems like a very long time. She attempts to make small talk, and I have no desire to do that with her. Bess is weak, emotional. Everything I'm not supposed to be, but often am. I don't need need more reminders. I'm tired, I say. Yes, you must be. Do you need anything before bed? She finally asks. I'll bring extra blankets and a pillow for the couch. It's not great, but there's no bed in the office. I dart my eyes to the office door, the room that belonged to Ben. I have no idea why she keeps this two-bedroom. Maybe she can't bear to leave the home where he lived. No, I answer, I'm set. She rises and disappears into her bedroom, returning with the bedding. It's late, and I'm sure you need sleep. I'll be here if you need me. I nod and take the bedding from her. Thanks for tonight. Sure, she murmurs and returns to her room. To my relief, she doesn't give me another crazy hug. I toss aside the linens and activate the message on my handheld. One is from my parents, which I ignore. The other from Kyra, wondering about the meeting. After arranging the pillow and blanket, I pull the device from my wrist and message her back as I climb under the bedding. Gentech, talk later. I barely hit send before the world goes black. A guardian snaps me off the street, then drops me to the ground. I scream the whole way down. My eyelids shoot open as I jolt and suck in air. The silhouette of the room forms around me. Not real, just a dream. My body slumps with the realization, but I am still at Bess's. That part wasn't a dream. I lie back, mind racing with thoughts of my Gen Tech assignment and vision of Ben or some child crying. Eyes wide, I snag my Flex from the floor and check the time. 2:14 a.m. Ugh, I need sleep. Not this. I swing my legs onto the floor, not moving for a few minutes. Through the window, a limited view displays the level 1 cityscape. There are guardians in the sky swooping in around the city. The moon shining across the building makes the shadowy world outside seem like a dream or a nightmare. Searching the room, differences stand out from my functional level 2 apartment. I'm unaccustomed to all these useless items displayed on her walls and shelves. A framed painting of an unrecognizable location, a collection of shells. Where did they even come from? You can't order junk like this from your citizen account. Across the room, the beady-eyed deer stares again. I walk toward the figurine, pluck the piece from its place, and rub its smooth texture. I remember the delicate item to its spot. I return the delicate item to its spot on the shelf after a moment, turning it to not look at me anymore. I wheel round toward the couch, but the office door catches my eye. Ben's old room. A ghost of a memory seems to hurry past my body and race toward the door. In a blink it's gone, but the desire to see the room is not. This is my last visit to Bess's, and the final chance to be close to Ben in some way. On tiptoe, I step toward the office and once there, reach for the manual handle and twist it. The door opens, revealing a desk pushed up against the wall with an active system on top, providing the only light in the room. A few plastic boxes are scattered about. I step in further and hunt for any evidence of Ben, but it's not there. Most of the boxes are empty, and those that have something in them turn out to just be more junk. I rack my brain trying to remember him more clearly, not the made-up version of from my head, the real Ben, but we were only 4. How much could there be to remember? Disappointed, I sink into a squat in front of the desk and rest my face in the palms of my hands. Just let it go. I wipe my eyes and start to rise when I see something peculiar under the desk. The baseboard of the wall is cracked. I don't know why I care. Everything in level 1 seems to be shabby. Even so, I push away the chair and trace the crack with my finger. Pull it. I pick at the flaw with my fingernail, and a chunk of the baseboard comes free, revealing a cavity barely larger than my hand. Then it does. A memory floods my mind. This was Ben's hiding spot. That morning, he pulled the wrapped heart necklace from the hole. His little hands clutched the gift as if it were the most precious possession in the world. Ben's palms opened and he thrust the parcel into my hand. "Hide it," he whispered. I'd quickly stuffed the unopened package into my pocket and ran out of his room, back to my parents. Our visits were always quick and only out of obligation. Direction wants us to know where we came from, so there are no questions to get in the way of our focus once we become citizens. I force my hand into the small space and feel around. To the right is something soft. I pinch it and pull it out. It's a stuffed creature, no bigger than my hand. From its long ears and short tail, I think it's supposed to be a rabbit. But I've only seen rabbits on the net as a fast food source. Gently, Gently, I place the rabbit aside and feel to the left inside the hole. From there, I pull a stack of folded papers tied together with a string. It's the same brownish paper from my heart necklace has always been wrapped in. I brush my fingertips over the clinks and untie the string, then flip through the pages. Personal letters. Before I open any, I crane my neck, looking out the door of the office to make sure there's no sign of Bess. With trembling hands, I switch on the light of my handheld. The notes are from Devin to Bess when they were first paired. As I read them, a strange warmth fills me. In one, he confesses to Bess how nervous he is that she was pregnant with twins. Nervous but excited with the possibilities. He loved her so much, so why did he leave? The letters have obviously been read many times, folded and refolded into place. Some brittle edge pieces fall on the floor. The last in the stack is dated much later, right after Ben died. The writing is sloppier than the others, almost unreadable. Bess, I at least owe you a goodbye. Virus 305B offered the escape I needed, one which should have been taken long before now. Don't worry, I deleted all the files, and you will no longer have to think about what happened. I know you cannot leave, so it's better this way. On your own, you have enough credits saved to last you. I'm sorry, but you won't hear from me again. Devin. Virus 305B. That's the virus from which Ben died. Were they glad it killed him? Released them of their duty? What's wrong with them? Bess acts like she cares for Ben, and even me. And Devin, he made some emotional choice, and look where it got him. No doubt eaten up by... That was bad. You okay? I lost it. No doubt eaten up by wild animals or killed by a virus in the outer bounds. My breath catches. This is sick. No way is love worth this. I flip through all the letters of him declaring his love, and then what? This? They were glad when the virus took Ben? The whole thing disgusts me. Attachments are dangerous, direction is right. With shaking hands, I restack the letters, barely tie the string, back around them, and stuff them back into the hiding spot, sweeping in the paper scraps that fell on the floor. Using the broken piece of baseboard, I cover the opening again. My hands grip the lip of the desk above me, and I pull myself up. I deleted everything. I stare at a desktop system, very out-of-date model. Does it even still work? Pulling back the chair, I plop into it. If there's something left on this system, I'll find it. I always do. Ben at least deserves that. I activate the viewer and link my flex. Years ago, out of boredom, I programmed a data recovery program and hid it on my device just in case. The program runs, downloading the information to my handheld. The file I want would be old, from 13 years ago. Most of them that old appear overridden. But if he was really in a hurry, maybe he forgot. I scanned the recovered list. Progressive Research Program, Week 10. The words jump off the screen, and for a split second, the sound of the screen fills my mind and is gone with a jolt. I gasp and shake off the shivers threatening my body, tapping to open the file. Test subjects: Joy, subject 23, and Ben, subject 24. Winterly Fraternal. Joy Winterly was my name before I was reassigned to the Larks. Age: 10 weeks. That can't be right. I was assigned to the Larks upon birth, after my immediate establishment as a level 2. Treatment: 10 weeks of human genetic engineering to increase intelligence potential. Weekly injection of serum 528A to modify alleles to raise cognitive ability. Suddenly the room grows too warm. My breath becomes rapid, but I continue reading. Result: Subject 23, moderate increase of 15 points. New classification, level 2, to be reassigned. Compensation: 100,000 credits. For the successful upgrade of Subject 23. Result: 2. Subject 24. Slight increase of 3 points. Continue with testing. Compensation: 10,000 credits per agreed on testing round. At the bottom is an electronic confirmation signed by Bess and Devin, allowing the testing on Ben to continue. I was born a level 1. The sound of a familiar whimper permeates my mind and grows into a full-blown screeching. Without a doubt, the crying is Ben's. Somehow I know it's the same crying I asked Bess about earlier. The vision, no memory, from the park overwhelms me, and I throw my hands to my ears to force the sound to stop. But it won't. I've balled up and pulling my legs from the floor, upon the chair, and hugging myself, rocking back and forth. What was it? The medic said. None of them last long. Eventually the sound in my head dissipates. I let out a long sigh and quickly close out the file. I continue putting together the puzzle with quick, shallow breaths. Direction put Ben and me through some sort of horrific study, and Bess and Devin allowed it for credits. Then, Ben died from the virus, and Devin probably couldn't handle the guilt of what he conceded to and ran away. Fury smolders in my center. Noise from outside the office gives me a start, and I quickly log off the system and unlink my device. I flee to the safety of the sofa, throwing the blankets over my head. I'm done sleeping. I've been asleep far too long. And that is chapter 4.